Rarely is a new mineral deposit discovered on the first drill hole. And almost equally rarely is that new deposit discovered during the first drill campaign. Hi, George Sanders here, President, Goldcliff Resource Corporation, and we're glad to welcome you back to another video. We are continuing our spring update, and today we would like to talk about our thoughts and plans for the Kettle Valley Gold-Silver Project in south central British Columbia. Now, there's lots of information on our website in terms of the background and how we came to acquire the project. I think there are still some videos on the website about that. And so today I'm going to kind of condense that and just bring it to going forward as quickly as I can. All of Goldcliff's other assets in the portfolio are located in historic mining districts. And we have very much followed the old adage that the best place to look for a new mine is next to an old one. Kettle Valley's a little bit different. It is a newly recognized style of mineralization in a place that wasn't thought to host that kind of geologic occurrence. So it's a little bit of a departure for us. Won't go into the background, but the reason that we optioned the property is because of the personal relationship with the vendor, who continues to be active in the geologic planning and execution of our work at this property. So following the option, and again this is on the website, we went to work on the exploration fundamentals, mapping, prospecting, surface sampling, and eventually followed that up with trenching and drilling. We were very encouraged because we found at the north end of the ridge outcrop and subcrop samples that looked spectacular and carried very robust gold and silver grades. So we're going to put two photographs up for you to have a look at, and what you can see in these photographs for the layman is that the rocks, the composition of these rocks are very encouraging. They're what you would want to see in this kind of a geologic setting. The rocks are cracked or broken up. We call that brecciated. There's a lot of quartz in the system. It looks like maybe there's some different pulses of hydrothermal activity that's evidenced in these rocks. And even if they were half the grade that they assayed, we would have been very encouraged by those. So the drill program was designed to follow those up, and I don't have a visual to put up on the screen, but I'll kind of use my hands. So we're coming from south to north along the top of the ridge, and those samples were taken sort of in here. As that ridge slope declines down into a valley to the west and flattens out a little bit, there are existing logging roads. So it was a no-brainer to test the depth potential of those samples with the drill set up on a logging road. It goes without saying it, if you have existing infrastructure, your setup costs and your reclamation costs are going to be much lower. So as I say, no-brainer. So from that setup, holes were drilled, and by the time the pierce point was at a vertical plane underneath those good grade samples, we were more than 200 meters deeper. So we think what happened at Kettle Valley was our initial drill program which was just around 1,000 meters in 5 only holes, was basically too deep. Now, I'm going to jump away from Kettle Valley specifically for just a second and come back to my opening statement. During my career, I experienced 2 major gold discovery area plays in Canada. The first of which in the early 1980s was the famous Hemlo discovery. Now, several mines operating at Hemlo eventually produced 20 million ounces. So a very serious, major gold discovery, changed the nature of the junior market in those days. Very dramatic, spectacular thing. The point I want to make is the discovery hole at Hemlo was hole number 76. It wasn't holes 1 through 5. More than 1,500 meters, way more than 1,500 meters had been drilled before the discovery drill hole was encountered. So, as I said at the outset, very rarely do highly prospective geologic settings yield the deposit, the new discovery, on the first couple of drill holes. The second, at the end of the decade, in the late 1980s, was the Eskay Creek discovery in northwestern British Columbia in the Golden Triangle. Now, that is a historic property that goes back to the middle 1930s. It had been worked on through the late 40s into the early 1950s, and then again throughout the 1980s. And lots of sniffs, lots of encouragement, but the drill hole into the famous 21B zone didn't happen until hole 109. So again, the new discovery of that new rich ore body didn't happen on hole 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, and it didn't happen in the first drilling campaign. In fact, there were several drill campaigns over multiple decades before that discovery was made. When we disclosed the results of a sniff in one hole and no economic values in the other 4 holes at Kettle Valley, a number of shareholders, prospective investors, wrote the project off. And if there's one sort of overlying dramatic factor in all of North American mine development over the decade for 150 years, it's the persistence and the determination of the project sponsors, be they prospectors, be they promoters, be they engineers, be they financiers. It's the people that believed in the setting and stuck to the basic fundamentals of exploration and mine development to bring the ore body on into production. So we want to remind shareholders of that. This project is far from dead. Okay, what are we doing going forward? This is a very, very interesting structural setting at Kettle Valley. If you were looking from a macro structure point of view, if you were looking for a new deposit, this is an area in which you would focus initially. At the micro level, the structural setting is very complex. We have multiple north-south structures. We have oblique structures coming in at cross-cutting at various angles, and we also have flat-lying structures. We're now of the belief that to effectively test this property further, we want to bring a drill up on top of the ridge, drilling more holes at a shorter distance from a fewer number of drill sites. So up on top, perhaps fan drill that way and another couple of holes, and then move along in 1 or 2 more drill setups. And that's been discussed at length by our technical team. We've had Fantastic input by a couple of very well-known BC PhD academic geologists who have also suggested that to us. Now, to execute on that, one of the advantages we have at Kettle Valley is that we still have an active drill permit. We have not utilized anywhere close to the number of drill sites for which we are permitted. So subject to financing and subject to drill contractor availability, once we have those two things in place, we can turn around and execute a drill program on very short notice, and we're hoping to be able to do that this field season. So, very much an alive asset. Our enthusiasm for this asset was not diminished by disappointing results in the first 5 holes. In fact, the benefit of that is we now know where not to set up further drill holes. So, as usual, please stay tuned and we will keep you abreast of our activities, and in our next video we will talk about the Panorama Ridge asset. Thanks for tuning in and stay tuned.